It is really hard out here for a journalist. It's really tough out here these days for anyone in journalism because it's just daily you're just inundated with the most insane things in this day and age, and it's wild. Akicha, good morning. How's it going? How's it going? I don't know if I want to start today with the update on the Kilmar Abrego Garcia case, or do I do the other part, which is a little bit more of a lighthearted, fun story, which concerns Elon Musk. So should I start out with like the more, I don't know, just kind of the more relaxing, or not relaxing, the more lighthearted story, kind of a little bit more like drama-esque, or do I start out with the more serious stuff? Let me know. Kentisa, hello, good morning. How's it going? Hit me with the bad stuff, hard to choose. Okay, do you want me, everyone answer in the chat, would you rather that I start out with a little bit more lighthearted, kind of funny drama kind of stuff, or do you want me to just go in and give an update on the Kilmar Abrego Garcia case? I'm seeing serious first. Hit me with the bad stuff. Let's talk about our boy Elon. Which one is better for you all? Because I'm going to be talking about both. Serious than lighter. Okay. We'll end with a little bit of the lighter note then. So there's not too many updates on the whole case with Kilmar Abrego Garcia. The reason why this is a bigger deal than I think many people realize is that this case really does, it is a litmus test. And you're like, well, what does that mean? A litmus test is basically, it is a measure of where we are in our democracy, because anyone can be the next Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Whether you are a non-citizen who has been given some protections to be here legally, not as a legal citizen, but be here legally, there's a difference. What this means is that none of us are safe. Not even American citizens under this rule of law. The fact that the United States Supreme Court, in a unanimous decision that was a super majority conservative court, made this decision, and yet you have a president then ignoring that. We've only really had one other case in history where the president ignored the Supreme Court. And let me tell you, it did not go well. It did not go well. So let me just actually fast forward to that. There was only one other case in history. Well, there were kind of some other ones, but the biggest case in history of a president ignoring the Supreme Court was when Andrew Jackson famously disregarded the decision Worcester versus Georgia in 1832. This was the decision by the United States Supreme Court, where basically they were saying, yeah, you need to abide by this. And Andrew Jackson just ignored it. And what this did was it led to the Trail of Tears. Yes, the forced relocation of Native Americans from their land that we stole. So, yes, President Andrew Jackson famously disregarded a Supreme Court ruling stating, quote, John Marshall has made his decision, now let him enforce it, and subsequently oversaw the forced removal of the Cherokee people, leading to the Trail of Tears. So, the Supreme Court in Worcester v. Georgia ruled that the state of Georgia could not impose its laws on Cherokee lands. So, the Supreme Court is like, yeah, because we have these contracts with Native Americans, United States law doesn't actually oversee or supersede or, have precedent or power over the laws of the Cherokee Nation, so we can't tell them what to do. And basically Andrew Jackson just said, nope, I don't care that the Supreme Court just said that. You need to move. You need to go. We're taking your land. And it led to the Trail of Tears, where people died. The forced relocation. We stole their land. What we're seeing now is similar, where not in the sense of that we're like, the land is already stolen. But for people that are trying to come into this country and become citizens, like, no one wants to be here illegally. I don't think that some MAGA people really understand. No one wants to be here illegally. No undocumented person wants to be undocumented. They want to become a citizen. They want to become a citizen. They want to be given a fair shot at doing so. We have such a backlog of people who want to become citizens, but we don't have the infrastructure in place to actually facilitate that. And instead of giving the support to those people, instead, our government is deciding to act upon cruelty and forcibly relocate these people, view it as a business thing, and lock people up for prison quotas so that they can make money. And yet the people who are what they would consider, Christians, good-hearted Christian evangelicals, y'all are the ones that are supporting this. Do you think Jesus would be okay with any of what Trump is doing? Do you think Jesus would be okay with the deportation, the endless victimization of all these people? No. It's because you've been brainwashed to the point where you can't even look at something critically. You just listen to your far right-wing media. And you're like, oh, well, how would you know? Because I was brainwashed too. I was raised as a Christian conservative, like, upcoming altar boy, not gonna lie. And it's really, really interesting from a psychology perspective when these people will believe in a religion, but then they don't act upon it, and they are just actively being immoral. Point of all of that is, the only other major time in history that a president ignored the Supreme Court was when President Andrew Jackson disregarded Worcester v. Georgia, which said that the United States in the state of Georgia could not impose its laws on Cherokee lands. But yet Andrew Jackson ignored that and said, nope, we're going to forcibly relocate you anyway. And that led to the Trail of Tears. How did that turn out? I think we can all agree, and if you can't agree, then I don't understand why you are literally a sociopath, that forcibly relocating those people was awful. Like, yes, we came to colonize this country. We came to flee religious persecution from England. That's the founding of this country was based on people that were coming over here, and they initially were like, we don't like that England is, taxing us without representation. Now, we also stole the land from the Native Americans. The thing is, it would have been so much better if we would learn to, like, cooperate and share and not betray and murder and all of those things. But, like, the best way to atone for all of this now, the best way to atone is to coexist and also provide reparations, because we did some pretty bad stuff, y'all. All of that being said, and I'm not the most expert on what those reparations are. That is when we need to listen to Native American tribes and all of that, and listen to what they think is fair and negotiate. The fact that our country just constantly violates those treaties is so disgusting. Anyway, all that being said, the last time that the United States ignored a Supreme Court decision, it led to one of the biggest humanitarian crises in the world and in American history, which was the Trail of Tears. I think regardless of your political affiliation, you'll see that as bad. Like, you should see that as bad. These are people, we took their land from them. And then forced them to relocate. In this situation, we are not giving people the opportunity to come into our country and in order to meet prison quotas, in order to make money as an Amazon-style industry, in the words of Tom Homan, the borders are. They're literally just trying to lock people up and be brutal for the purpose of the prison industrial complex. This is awful. Theoretically, I know it doesn't happen in practice, but theoretically, regardless of your political affiliation, you should see the kind of brutality that is happening as immoral. Or has the devil completely gotten to you and you just act upon that evilness? Like, the fact that brutality in itself has been politicized to the point where people are pro-brutality is really disgusting. I don't understand anyone who takes that kind of position. You're just... And let me say this again. Some of those people are like, oh, well, I thought you were all about tolerance. Well, pause. Tolerating intolerance undermines the whole idea of tolerance. So if you are intolerant, if you are constantly demonizing, it doesn't matter what group. LGBTQ people, doesn't matter if it's trans people, doesn't matter if it's women, doesn't matter if it's people of color, doesn't matter if it is undocumented immigrants who've not been given a fair shot to even join this country. No undocumented person likes the fact that they are here undocumented. No undocumented person wants to have that label. I know people personally who came to this country to flee violence in their countries. To have a better start. Do you think that they like the fact that they're here illegally? No. No, they hate that fact. They want to just become a patriotic American citizen. But yet our country doesn't give them that actual chance. It doesn't. It doesn't. No one wants to be here illegally. And whenever people try to just find a way to go throughout the system, there are just blocks at every single point. I like when someone says, we do not care. I hope you don't call yourself religious, because you know what that shows? It shows that you're literally violating your religion. It shows that you have no heart. You have no soul. You have no empathy. It's just like, it's really so sad. It's so sad that people have found it to be funny and popular and trendy to be cruel. Don't. Be a good person. Be a good person. Yes, gay man talking about religion. Yes, because God is love and love is God, honey. You can't see that. That's not my fault. So, with this case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, I want to point out that as an update, actually, Senator Chris Van Hollen, who is a Democratic senator from Maryland, is actually planning to go to El Salvador to talk and meet with Kilmar Abrego Garcia personally to kind of give an update about all of that. Look, the reason why this case is bigger than many people might realize is because this sets a really dangerous example, a really dangerous precedent for how little freedoms everyone, regardless if you're Democrat, Republican, white, black, gay, straight, the freedoms that we do not enjoy now as Americans. You think I might be hyperbolic? Let me break down the case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia to you. I'll give you a timeline. If you have any empathy, you'll listen and shut up in the chat. If you have any empathy, just shut up in the chat, okay? Listen to this guy's story, okay? Just listen to this guy's story. In 2019, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who is a Maryland father of 3 and a husband, was accused of being part of the gang MS-13 by Maryland police. Has anyone been accused of something in here? And you actually didn't end up doing it. You were not a part of it. You didn't do it. It feels awful. After investigation into the matter, there was no evidence to support the accusation that was made by the police. And instead, he offered testimony himself, his close family and friends, and the immigration judge said, you know what? due to the fact that you shared your story about how if you were to go back to El Salvador, that you were probably going to be persecuted, you were probably going to be unalived, and your personal testimony of how going back there would literally jeopardize your life, even though you're here illegally, I am going to grant you withholding from removal status. And you're like, what does that mean? It means that you are not here legally, but you are protected by the law to not be deported. Does that make sense? So, Kilmar Abrego Garcia was given some legal protection as a non-citizen to be here. Now, pause. What is so funny is that's just an objective fact. This was a district court ruling that gave him some legal protections to reside here as a non-citizen and get a green card in order to process this. All right, that's what happened. What's so funny is, and so dangerous, is that there are far right-wing shows like on Fox that try to make this a debate over whether this is true or not. Literally, he was here not as a legal citizen, but he had legal protections as a non-citizen to be here. That's how the law works. So back in 2019, he was granted this withholding from removal status, which again means that you are not here as a U.S. citizen or anything like that. You are not a legal citizen, but you have some legal protections from being deported. Cool? That was because the immigration judge said, yeah, due to your testimony, sounds like if you were to be deported back to El Salvador, your life could be in danger. So, there was this accusation, there was no evidence to support it, and he was able to get this withholding from removal status. This thereby shielded Garcia from deportation after hearing out his testimony, how if he were to return to El Salvador, his life would be in serious danger. Now pause. I will get to how this relates to everyone, regardless if you're undocumented, if you are a non-citizen who has some legal protections, or if you're a U.S. citizen like me. This case sets a dangerous example for the infringement upon our personal safety and personal freedoms that we have, regardless of who you are, regardless of your political affiliation, regardless of your ethnicity. And it's really scary to see. So, going a little bit further here in the timeline, number 3, despite having legal protection to reside here, he was shielded from being deported per the district court, and having a green card. You had Garcia, who was illegally arrested and detained by ICE, the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, on March 15th, and ultimately deported to El Salvador. And you're like, wait, hold on, what? How was he deported even though a judge had given him some legal protections? Well, that's a good question. It's almost as if ICE is just going through and ignoring what the judicial branch does. Yeah, that's an infringement upon the way our government is set up. Number 4, on Friday, April 4th, recently, the U.S. District Court of Maryland said the government needed to facilitate and effectuate the return of Garcia back to the U.S. So they're like, look, this guy has legal protections to have not been deported. So you need to bring him back to the United States. Now, he has a green card. If his green card isn't renewed, then sure, he could be deported. But the point is, they went about this completely the wrong way, infringing upon what was already established by the courts, by the district court. And further, the Trump administration even admitted in court, saying, yeah, he was deported because of an administrative error, so our bad. Now, what's really interesting is the district court, after saying that you need to bring him back, it went up to the Court of Appeals. The Court of Appeals was like, yeah, we agree with the district court. You gotta bring him back. It goes all the way up to the Supreme Court, where the super majority conservative Supreme Court says, yeah, we agree with the district court. You need to bring him back. You need to facilitate and effectuate the return of Garcia to the United States, because he was granted some legal protections as a non-citizen to reside here and be protected from deportation, which you just did, violating the law. Which leads us to the present day, where now Trump is just ignoring the Supreme Court, despite being constitutionally required by our Constitution. Again, our Constitution says the president cannot ignore a Supreme Court order. So for any patriot that's like, oh, I love Trump, he follows the Constitution to a T. No, you toss out the Constitution when it's convenient for you, and you're admitting to it. So what you're doing is you're literally making the founders weep. You're making them shake their head. Now, pause. The Constitution is not perfect. It was literally, it ignored and left out certain groups of people throughout society. If you were a woman, left out. If you were a person of color, eventually you only became a 2/3. I guess that's an improvement of what it was before. But point is, our Constitution is not perfect, but the way it was set up with the branches of government, there was separation of powers and they all checked each other. Think of our government, if you want an analogy, you know when you build a fire, I love doing fire pits. When you build a fire, you have the logs and you stand them up and they lean on each other. Our government are like 3 logs that all collectively stand up because they're all leaning on each other. Now, each branch has different responsibilities, different powers, different things that they do, different duties. But they all check each other. They all hold each other up. For the executive branch, for Donald Trump to ignore the judicial branch leads to a constitutional crisis that we've not seen for 200 years. So the last time that the Supreme Court was ignored by a president was Andrew Jackson, someone that we often loathe in history because this is a guy who ignored when the Supreme Court said, yeah, the state of Georgia, you can't forcibly remove, Native Americans from that territory. You need to abide by that. And he goes, screw it. I hate them. They need to move anyway. And it led to the Trail of Tears. Now, unless you're a sociopath, you cheer on that brutality because you have no empathy, which is disgusting. Like, no one should look back at that and like, yeah, let's repeat that again. Let's ignore the Supreme Court when they make a decision. I said this yesterday, just put it in perspective. Let's say that Biden, let's say that Kamala Harris, let's say that Obama ignores the Supreme Court. Not on this issue, but let's just say another one. The Dobbs decision, which took away the rights for women and people with the capacity for pregnancy to get abortions. They sent abortion back to the states where many states then just banned it. With that, if Biden were to have ignored that Supreme Court decision, it would have led to a constitutional crisis. Because the Supreme Court is saying something, the president decides to do something else. It goes against the way our whole system of government is. And you know what would happen? Right-wingers would literally shit a brick. They would be absolutely like going crazy over that. And look, rightfully so. Rightfully so. They would, because you're ignoring the Constitution. You're completely upending the whole process. So why is it that when we go back to the present, that many right-wingers don't care? It's because they've always secretly said, well, we want to change the rules when it benefits us. They don't want to play fair. They don't. They want to change the Constitution, interpret the Constitution only when it benefits them. Again, I say this analogy all the time. It's like playing Monopoly with a 4-year-old. Every single time you go around on the board, they try to change the rules when it benefits them. You land on their hotels, they will whine, they will moan, they will cry until you pay them twice the amount. They land on your hotels and they will whine, they'll moan, they'll cry until they get they only have to pay half of what it is. And it's this game of heads I win, tails you lose. And Democrats have been playing it for years, where you can't compromise with people who want to do injustices. socioeconomically, taking away people's rights. You can't compromise with people who are tolerating intolerance. By the way, we have 315 people in here. If you're enjoying the live stream, please send some likes. Please just like the stream. If you're new here, say hello and subscribe. I work really hard to do what I do. With this is a bigger deal than many people think. Why? Well, because you and I could be the next Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Yes, American citizens. Why? Well, because Donald Trump said verbatim, he mentioned that, quote, homegrowns are next. He said homegrowns are next. And you're like, wait, really? What? Hold on. Huh? Yes. Yes. He even at one point said that homegrowns are next. Let me get to it. Hold on. Where is it? Hold on. I prepare so many graphics for my live streams. It's actually crazy. Where is it? Where is it? Yeah. Homegrown criminals are next, Trump said to Bukele. I said homegrowns are next. Homegrowns. You got to build about 5 more places. And then Bukele says, yeah, we got space. And he said, it's not big enough. So, homegrowns. He means people who are U.S. citizens. U.S. citizens that he doesn't like. And you'll say, okay, Scott, you're really trying to stretch here. But am I? He is saying that it's next. Again, what happened with the case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia? What happened with the case of him? Number one, he was accused of something that he didn't do. You've been accused of something you didn't do? I have. Not in a legal court of law. But it never is good. When someone accuses you of something, you are incredibly motivated to be like, I'm going to clear my name. You're going to do everything you possibly can to show evidence of that. Kilmar Abrego Garcia shows, hey, I'm not a member of MS-13. I actually fled to the United States to be free from that violence that was in my country. I fled to be here in order to free me and my family from violence. So he says, yeah, there's no evidence to support that I was even a part of them. And in fact, shares testimony, and the immigration judge is like, yeah, actually hearing your testimony, if you were to return, your life could be in danger. So let's give you a green card. And even though you came in illegally, which is not okay, we're going to shield you from deportation and help get you through the legal hurdles in order to become a citizen. That's what happened with the district court. Then the government is like, no, he's still here illegally. It goes to the Court of Appeals, which is the next step. So think of it like this. It's a pyramid. You have all these different district courts. Then you have the Court of Appeals. You have a couple different courts of appeals. Then you have the Supreme Court. It goes from the district court to the Court of Appeals, which upholds the previous district court ruling. Then the Court of Appeals, it goes to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court upholds the Court of Appeals ruling, and they say, yeah, you shouldn't have deported this guy. He had legal protections to be here as a non-citizen. He was accused of something that then led him to all of this situation. So he was accused of stuff. He was given some protection. And then, despite having the protection, in a court of law, he was found to not be in whatever dangerous group, dangerous affiliation, anything like that. He was found to have not been in that and given legal protection. ICE, the Immigration and Customs Enforcement, the Trump administration, the Trump's henchmen overrule. They don't overrule. What I mean by that is they just completely go in and ignore that and just snatch him up anyway and ship him out. Put yourself in his shoes. If you are accused of robbery, theft, arson, you go to court, you prove that you are innocent, you get legal protections that say, yeah, you didn't do it. Then 2 days later, the police come in and arrest you anyway. They throw you in a prison. And you're like, wait a minute, how is that okay? A court just said I didn't do that. Well, that's what happened to Kilmar Abrego Garcia. It's take the situation and just switch some of the conditions and make it applicable to your life. Make it applicable to your life. If you were in his shoes, I'm an American citizen, so let's say that the police in my state were to accuse me of something. I prove in court that nope, I am in fact innocent. I did not do that. I get a judge saying, yeah, you didn't do it. Then it goes up to the Court of Appeals. The Court of Appeals is like, yeah, you didn't do it. You have some legal protections. The Supreme Court even, it's like, yeah, this guy's innocent. Yet I'm still arrested. What it shows is that ICE is ignoring the courts. Trump is ignoring the courts. The Supreme Court. It shows the erosion of our government. What's so ironic is those are the patriots. The patriots that claim they care about the government, the way that our whole American freedom system society is set up. You're the ones that are actively destroying it. You're the ones that are going through and changing the rules, trying to supersede the way that everything functions for what? Your gain. And I don't think that Trump people don't even realize. You are exactly the same people that you are condemning. You are the exact thing. Your actions, what you say and believe is exactly what you're supposed to condemn. But you're the one doing it. Unless you really don't want to live in a country that's free for everyone, then I'm sorry, you have no empathy. God's shaking his head at you. It's insane to me. It's insane to me. This is the kind of stuff that led to the preconditions of the Holocaust. And I don't mean to be hyperbolic. I don't like to be hyperbolic. I don't like to try and do that. But this is a red card. This is a red alert moment. This case is a dangerous example. And that's exactly what Sonia Sotomayor, Ketanji Brown Jackson, and Elena Kagan said in their concurring opinion, meaning that they agree with the unanimous one, but they also just filed this being like, hey, this is a dangerous example moving forward. All that being said, with this case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, what it shows is that you and I could be next. If you're accused of something unfairly, you get protections from a court, goes to the Court of Appeals, goes to the Supreme Court. Trump's administration could come through anyway, even though you have legal protections. You were found innocent. What it means is that you could still just be arrested because this administration is going to do whatever they want. Do whatever they want. Who cares if a court says that it's not allowed? Who says if a court... And you're like, wait a minute. Well, why should I care? Because let's say for some odd reason, Trump really didn't like what you did one day. And didn't like that you ran some sort of business. They're going through and targeting people. And it starts... Let me also say, it starts with the most marginalized people first. It starts with trans people. It starts with gay people, just like the Holocaust did. It starts with immigrants. It starts with the lowest of low-class people. And then eventually it gets to you. Let me give you let me read this out to you all. This is from someone associated with the Holocaust. First, they came for the communists, and I did not speak out because I was not a communist. Then they came for the socialist, and I did not speak out because I was not a socialist. And then they came for the trade unionists, and I did not speak out because I was not a trade unionist. Then they came for the Jews, and I did not speak out because I was not a Jew. Then they came for me, and there was no one left to speak for me. First, they came for the trans people and the LGBTQ people. And I did not care because I am neither trans nor LGBTQ. Then they went for the immigrants. And I did not care because I am not an immigrant. you know who they're going to go for next? They're eventually going to get to you. And as someone who was raised as a Christian, what I find so fascinating is that a lot of the people who completely disassociate their religion from what they support politically, your actions don't match up at all, and you're the biggest hypocrite ever. Any Christian that cheers on this type of brutality, literally God is shaking his head at you. We're seeing massive brutality in this country. The knee-jerk reaction of humans should be, when you see brutality, you call it out. If it's brutality towards people, it doesn't matter if it's an identity you hold. You should have a knee-jerk reaction to feel empathetic. You should be like, oh yeah, that's bad. That's bad. I hope that it's in there for everyone when you see it. Because injustice for one person eventually leads to injustice for everyone. And you say, well, I'm not affected, I'm not going to care. Right. And you then claim that you're a good person. You claim that you're somehow a moral person. It's so sad to see what's happening. And by the way, I just want to point out here really quickly, I literally have a feature where I don't see the comments. So if you're attempting to try and insult or name call or do anything, trying to change the conversation, what about this, what about that, I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing it. Who knows if it's even happening or not? It happens all the time in my lives. But if you're trying to get my attention, don't. I am not here to waste my time with you. Sorry, I'm not. You want to go and argue with someone online for some sort of benefit because you think it's funny and it shows that you're an alpha male? Great, but I'm not that person. I ignore comments. I ignore them. So don't even try. My moderators are in here making sure this is a safe space. Also, 2 rules. I say this all the time, but I'm just going to repeat it. 2 things. You will be muted and blocked if you do the following. If you spread misinformation. YouTube has policies against the spewing and spreading of misinformation. I uphold those. And if you spread it in my live, you will be muted. You will be blocked. Sorry, not sorry. It's a rule. If you spew misinformation, objectively incorrect facts, data, statistics, science, anything, then you will be muted and blocked. Think about, maybe ask yourself if you are the one that's doing that. Secondly, you do have freedom of speech, but it's not free from consequences. So if you use your First Amendment to spew hatred, to spew prejudice, to spew anger, fear of other people based on their identity alone, or you use your First Amendment to harass other people, then yeah, you will be muted, you will be blocked. Sorry, maybe you should look inwardly at your actions and ask yourself if you are a part of that. Now look, I like pineapple on pizza, but if you have a different opinion than me, or you say I don't like it, that's fine. That's just a different opinion. That's not rooted in hate whatsoever. You're fine. If you make your whole identity, your whole political viewpoint all about hate, then you will be muted. And you say, oh, well, you hate the right wing. No, I don't hate them at all. Never do I say that. I'm simply pointing out, I don't think you all have empathy. I don't think you all care. I think you all are complicit with an injustice. Oftentimes, and this is a small little side tangent, but I think it applies perfectly. Oftentimes, any point in which any independent or left-leaning person, anyone calls out any sort of person on the right wing for any sort of minute criticism or critique or feedback, they always view it as a personal attack, when it's not. If there are people that are out there saying you are spreading this misinformation, it's not a personal attack. It's just, hey, you're literally incorrect about something. I was incorrect when I was doing a live stream all about gun violence. I said that AR stands for assault rifle. No, it does not. Someone said, hey, actually, no, it stands for Armalite rifle. And I said, oh, okay. That feedback, that criticism wasn't personal. It was just factual. It shows the content of your character when you receive that feedback, knowing what you're going to do with it. If you're going to double down on ignorance because you cannot admit when you are wrong, shows that you're actually a weak person. You can't admit when you are incorrect, which is very much a beta male thing to do if you really want to go to that language. And the reason why so many people on my live streams often resort to that kind of stuff is because you secretly know that I'm right. You secretly know that I am correct about these things. This is your moment to change. I don't hate anyone. I don't. Not even the people that constantly come at me for whatever things. I don't. This is your moment to actually pivot and be like, you know what? I was doing all of this bad stuff all along. This guy's right. Great, join us. Be a part of our revolution to then fight for the little guy in this country. Like, there's so many people that always try to paint me into their enemy. You know, we don't have to play this silly game. You don't have to. And that's the thing with our political discourse in this country. You have all these right-wingers that are always so afraid. They're so afraid of anyone who's different from them. We're not trying to fearmonger about you. Any sort of feedback, any sort of criticism we have of your actions, it's not ever super personal. At least for me, it isn't. It's just trying to inform you, hey, this is not cool. The same way that if you give me feedback about something that I maybe mess up, I'm not going to be personal about it. Anyway, I love all of you. That's just a little update on the case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia. This is a dangerous precedent that affects everyone. This example, this case is a litmus test for our democracy. And you're like, well, what does that mean? It means that this case is emblematic. It means a lot more because it could lead to way more other negative ramifications. Kilmar Abrego Garcia was a non-citizen who had legal protections to be here, was given legal protections by a district court, by the Court of Appeals, by the Supreme Court, and he was deported anyway because this administration ignores the courts. When any administration ignores the courts, it leads to a constitutional crisis, that of which can upend the entire structure in which our government is based, which then leads to the erosion of our personal access, personal freedoms, everything. And if you are complicit within that injustice, then you are actively cheering on the destruction of our country so that you can get a momentary advantage that really isn't an advantage because it disadvantages you and your personal freedoms, all for someone who is the perpetrator of that damage, which is Trump. Was that as eloquently said as I think? Cool. That all being said, this case means a lot because no one is safe with this. It sets a bad example, a bad precedent moving forward that other cases are going to go down this way. Even if you get protection through the judicial branch for whatever accused crime that you were whatever crime you were accused of, doesn't matter if you have legal protections anymore because this administration is just going to go through and do it anyway. You know what that is? It's called authoritarianism. It's called fascism. That's like Trump acting like a king. And you'll say, oh, well, it doesn't affect me. I'm a Trump supporter. That's because you're the one that is actively perpetrating that system. And it's cruel. It's cruel. Eventually, it's going to get to you in whatever identity you have. And if you can't look at the injustice happening to other people and you are complicit within it, then you have no right to call yourself any sort of religious person whatsoever. Here's my analysis. I truly do think that Donald Trump has been called by the devil. Personally, it's my opinion, my viewpoint, personally called by the devil to bring about the destruction of this country. I truly do. I used to believe that, I believe that there is good and bad within every single person. I do. But I think that what really shows is your decision to act upon it is what really shapes your character. And right now, I really do feel like Donald Trump is acting upon the most awful parts of his character in order to pursue an end for whatever demonic forces are out there. That's my personal opinion. What I'm calling for is a world that believes in equity, inclusion, love, celebrating diversity, that we're all different, that we all have different things to share. You know, and just as like a quick little aside, what I find so special and so cool is when I see other fellow white guys that believe in that and celebrate it. And it's like, oh, that's so cool. You know, we're all a part of this together. Why do you want, like, why are we trying to bring about all this angry, negative sentiment? We don't need to do that. Do people really fear true equality and true equity because you might not have a momentary advantage? It's really scary to see that. So I'm just calling for love, calling for inclusion. It's really not that hard. It's only hard for people who are cruel. And I guess the people who are cruel have a lot of power right now. Literally, Jesus is shaking his head at Donald Trump and Republicans. Members of history are shaking their head at what's... No, I should say members of history, that wasn't clear. Past historical figures are rolling over in their graves, seeing this moment in history for what it is. The only other president to ever ignore the Supreme Court was Andrew Jackson. The court said that, yeah, you need to respect Native Americans and them not being forcibly removed from their land. And Andrew Jackson said, I don't care, we're removing them anyway. Led to the Trail of Tears, which is a genocide. What could happen this time? Ignoring the Supreme Court like this. Like, let me also put this up here. Let me put this up here for a second. Hold on. Meep. It didn't start with gas chambers. It started with one party controlling the media, one party controlling the message, one party deciding what is truth, one party censoring speech and controlling the opposition. Geez, what does that sound like? One party dividing citizens into us versus them. Calling out their supporters to harass them. It started when good people turned a blind eye and let it happen. The reason why so many angry white men support MAGA is because they feel left out. You don't need to feel left out. You can join us in this beautiful woven tapestry that is America. Supporting DEI includes many people. It includes everyone. There doesn't need to be this like angry war that is happening. We don't need that. We don't need whatever division that Donald Trump is trying to do chaotically to do that. Let me say this, not that it's really going to maybe make a difference. To any angry MAGA white guys that are in the chat that you're constantly trying to bully me, I don't hate you. I don't hate you. I don't know why you decide to hate me. And I still haven't even looked at the chat here. I don't. I literally have it where it does, I don't see it. It's the beauty of YouTube versus TikTok. I don't see it. Yet it happens all the time. I don't hate you. This is your moment to join us. Diversity, equity, and inclusion doesn't ever take away any rights from any person. It gives everyone the equal chance to be seen, heard, and recognized. Also, I don't think that many like white MAGA people, I don't think you even realize that when they say diversity, equity, and inclusion, they also mean people from rural parts of America. They mean veterans. They mean low-income people. They mean folks that come from broken families. They mean folks who might not have two parents, maybe grew up in foster care. maybe someone that has struggled with drug addiction, maybe someone who has a unique life experience. DEI doesn't just mean people of color. It means everyone. This is your moment to then actually free yourself from the anger, from the resentment, from the fear of being left behind. We want you to join in the celebration of our beautiful world together, instead of trying to actively destroy it. I don't know if I'm reaching anyone in the chat, but I hope I am. Now, all of that being said, let's go with a little bit lighthearted of a story. And I'm actually going to look at the chat here. Let me see. So, how's everyone doing? Are there any moderators in here? Cherie, how are you? Cherie is one of my amazing moderators in here. Yeah, DEI also means wheelchair ramps and handicap bathrooms. Yeah, that's important. Giving everyone this equal access. Super awesome. So now that we're pivoting to a more lighthearted topic, let me cover a little bit more just lighthearted drama. Just a little bit more lighthearted drama, since we just talked about a lot. With everything that is happening, there's a lot of rifts that are happening within the Trump administration. We've heard whisperings about it, but also, that there's now receipts to show. Apparently, there are many Trump officials that are really not big fans of Elon Musk. They're not fans at all. And there was a scathing piece out of Rolling Stone that reported on a lot of this. Truth be told, I don't have a subscription to Rolling Stone. I don't want to pay for a subscription to Rolling Stone, so I didn't actually get that piece. But I found other sources that have quotes from the Rolling Stone, and I went through and found original primary media sources to communicate the story. So, Elon Musk was called the most irritating person by a senior White House Donald Trump official, and they are raising the alarm over his erratic behavior. That is what these Trump officials are calling it. So, a recent expose by Rolling Stone highlights rising frustration among cabinet members in particular, with some senior officials describing Musk's behavior as disruptive and even irritating. The tension stems not only from Musk's interpersonal conduct, but also from concerns surrounding his leadership approach, decision-making, and erratic behavior. Also, pause. If you're enjoying the live stream, please make sure to send some likes. I love all of you. There's someone that's asking a question about my hair. I actually don't even have any product in my hair, by the way, and that's not what we're talking about. If you want to flirt with me, then you can slide into my DMs on Instagram. Thanks. Anyway, so people were asking and sharing concerns around what they called his erratic behavior. And Elon Musk faces backlash inside the Donald Trump administration, according to the Rolling Stone, calling him irritating. Musk attempts to, and this is also another thing, one office official noted that Musk's repeated attempts at humor, his divisive tone, his insistence on intellectual superiority, saying that interacting with him was akin to listening to rusty nails on a chalkboard. Not my words, the words of a Trump official. Also, Marco Rubio, who is the Secretary of State, who I'm personally not a fan of, also said that he calls Elon crazy Uncle Elon and has a huge disdain for him. Another official summed it up as, Elon just thinks that he's smarter than everyone else in the room and acts like it. even when it's clear that he doesn't know what he's talking about. One senior official told Rolling Stone that sometimes talking to the guy is like listening to rusty nails on a chalkboard. He's the most irritating person that I've ever had to deal with, and that's saying something. Officials say that Musk often derails meetings with offbeat jokes and sarcastic comments that fall flat. He expects people to laugh, and when they don't, he looks almost offended, according to people in the room. This awkward energy has become a regular issue during government discussions. Now, with all of this being said, people will be like, well, why do you not like Elon Musk? Why would people not like Elon Musk? Why are people not a fan? Gee, I don't know. I don't know why people would not be a fan of Elon Musk. It's not like Elon Musk is going through and endlessly firing people, personally firing people, putting out messages saying, justify your job to me, or I'll deem you as inefficient and fire you because I have that power. What are some things that you did today? And if I don't think it's important, then you are fired. Why would people hate that? Why would people hate that? Why would Trump officials hate when he just stands over in cabinet meetings like a vulture, being like, justify your employees' jobs to me, and I will, if I think it's inefficient, I'll fire them. Let's say that you and your staff, let's say that you are like the leader of a certain department, and all the different departments in whatever company you're in are all around here, and then your big boss is over there. Let's say that your big boss has a friend, and that friend just comes in and starts telling you what to do when they have no authority, they have no like formal position, they're just that advisor, and they just tell you what to do. Wouldn't you hate that? So, I mean, why would people not like Elon Musk? It's not like he's trying to do all these government cuts to people's social security. It's not like he's trying to take away the lines in which these seniors call about inquiries relating to their social security, or try to infiltrate and get the data of people's social security numbers, or go through and take people off of social security that should not be taken off because they are not dead, even though he likes to claim that they are. I mean, why would people hate that? Why would people hate that? Why would people hate us abandoning other countries when they're faced with major disasters? It's not like there was a whole division for us in something like USAID to give money to countries that face like disasters as philanthropic relief efforts. Literally like 0.5% of the whole federal budget going to that program. It's not like cutting that program and be incredibly unpopular, or trying to get rid of something like the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. It's not like that would be incredibly unpopular. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau protects people who were like wronged by different companies, scammed, were prey of different companies. Like they were preyed upon, and they were siphoned out of some of their money. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau has secured billions of dollars back over the years. Why would people hate the person that's literally calling for the disbandment, the erosion, the elimination of that department? Why would people hate that? Especially if you go through it with erratic decision making. Or walk into a room, call yourself tech support, and basically boss everyone around, and then makes jokes that aren't funny, and then you feel like you have to laugh at them. Or why would you not like a guy who goes through, starts trying to cut everything, take over your job, just cut everything he doesn't personally like, and also gives himself huge billion-dollar contracts? I mean, why would you hate that? Why would you hate that? Why would you hate anyone who is literally trying to erode and eliminate the agencies which oversee and regulate his companies. Why would that be something? Is my sarcasm getting annoying? Is it getting exhausting? My point is, not only is this guy actively destroying some things in America, but Trump officials don't like him for his behavior and what he's doing. I think it's so funny when people, their sources just trust me, bro. That is just so funny. It's so funny when that happens. So a recent expose by the Rolling Stone is saying that many cabinet members are saying this kind of stuff. And Musk's repeated attempts at humor, his dismissive tone, and intellectual superiority, saying that interacting with him is like listening to rusty nails. Marco Rubio was calling him crazy Uncle Elon. One official said that he just thinks that he's smarter than everyone in the room and acts like it, even when it's clear he doesn't know what he's talking about. Let me also get to... There was this weird, like, whole thing around things with Peter Navarro. Peter Navarro is like the lead trade advisor for the president. I'm not a personal fan of him. But apparently after Navarro downplayed Tesla's significance by calling it merely a, quote, car assembler, Musk retaliated by labeling Peter Navarro a moron on social media, which Peter Navarro denies, but the screenshots and the receipts are in. Navarro is truly a moron. What he says is demonstrably false. I'm not going to say this out loud, but you can see here there's a name and slang term. And he said, also, I think it was down here, Navarro is dumber than a sack of bricks. And then Elon Musk eventually responds and says, actually, I'd like to apologize to Bricks for calling Peter Navarro dumber than a sack of bricks. That was so unfair to the Bricks. So, anyway. There's no product in my hair. Why can't you comment something that's relevant to the discussion? I have Eastern European ancestry, so my hair is thicker. Okay? Cool. We're end of that discussion. Bye. Done. If you have a crush on me, slide into my DMs. Slide into my DMs. If you are obsessed with my physical appearance, then thank you. But that's not the topic of discussion. So, anyway. Also, just looking at it, when combining all of the different polls of Elon Musk's approval versus approval or disapproval ratings, you can see that it's widening. So this is a aggregate. This is a average of all the different polls, or this is what all the polls show when they're together. So it used to be number one is when Musk endorsed Donald Trump. Then 2 is the election. 3 is the start of the term. Now, what's really interesting is Elon Musk's favorability rating has ebbed and flowed, but it's been going down and down and down. But what's interesting is there were some people who truly didn't have an opinion. A lot of the people who didn't have opinions are now the same people who are unfavorable. It's interesting when you look at that as a political scientist. Scotty the Hottie. Kelly says, I'm Christian. I love everybody. Though I absolutely hate what this administration is doing. Also realize that everybody's going to heaven. Oh, interesting. So anyway. Said you believe in the polls still. Remember when all the polls said Kamala was going to win? Not all the polls said that Kamala was going to win. They said it was going to be very much a toss-up. The polls got tighter the closer that it went. I am not one of those people that you're trying to demonize, so don't try it, because I'm not. I'm not. I actually was expressing in the last few days that I was like, I'm really nervous that Trump's actually going to pull it off. People didn't believe me either. So anyway, that all being said, I love all of you. I need to skedaddle because I need to get to work. Y'all are all awesome. Scott could have called him thick today. So I love all of you, even if you don't like me. It means a lot when you all support the channel. Shout out to my my first amazing subscriber who I think, or my first amazing member who is in here. Yeah, Cantisa. I love you, Cantisa. You're awesome. And shout out to the person who gifted that membership. If you want to support my channel and what I do, then please become a member. It means a lot. Also, I have a surprise for you all. I have a surprise. So I have merchandise, and I recently just got my own shirt in. My own Just Remember Iconic Quote shirt. Ta-da! Isn't it so cute? So this is the iconic quote that I say at the end of every single live stream. It says, just remember, I know it's backwards. Just remember that you are beautiful, you are loved, you are valid, you are strong, and you are fierce. Don't let anyone ever dim your shine. So, isn't that cute? So, I'm also planning on coming up with some other merchandise items to get through this moment. So, if you want to support me in what I do, that means a lot. So, bro said I demonized him. How is it demonizing? What? When you are trying to claim that I was, hold on. Oh yeah, you were the guy, you were the guy that was saying that I was incorrect about all the polls, or that I was like, anyway. Maybe demonize was a little bit strong of a word. Basically, you're trying to smear me. So yeah, maybe you could, and like, you know what you're doing. You believe in the polls. Yeah, his comment. You believe in the polls still. Remember when all the polls said that Colin was going to win? Pause. Not all the polls said that. In fact, many polls showed them that it was like neck and neck, especially towards the end. So your accusation guised as a question was really actually just misinformation. And you were also trying to taunt me. So yes, it was demonizing. So maybe you should kind of look inwardly at that. Your tone and the intention was to be rude and disrespectful. I don't understand how you're trying to get around that. I don't hate you, dude. Why are you trying to do that to me? Like, you know what you're doing. I hope that you were raised to be smarter than that. Cool. I love all of you. So even if you don't like me, oh, Ginger Monster, hello, hello. Someone said you're taking it too personally. You're the one that came in with the sass. You're the one coming in with the sass, dude. So I'm only matching your energy. Anyway, yes, if you want to support the channel, do click the join button or membership. It means a lot to have you all here. Y'all are awesome. Oh, thank you, Kelly. Blessings. I'm so glad I found this channel. I'm glad that you're here. Can you hear yourself? Hey, Scott, can you hear me? No? I love all of you. I love all of you. They're just desperate to get your attention. I know, right? You want to slide in my DMs? Go ahead. I know I'm cute. Anyway, love how you don't bend or break, Scott. Oh, I've been known to bend, although I'm not very flexible. I think I'm funny. Anyway, I need to get to work. I love all of you so much. Just remember that you are beautiful. Or shout out to all of my amazing moderators. First, Cherie, love you. Akicha, Ellie, Kate, y'all are incredible. Joanna Tech, Jenny, all of you are so amazing. Elisa, I could not do it without you all. Elisa especially. So yeah, I love all of you so much. And all my good friends in here, C-Bar, Ginger Monster, y'all are all incredible. And Cantisa, shout out to you for being the first member of the channel. I am going to be doing some member-only videos coming up here soon, so it means a lot to have y'all's support. And just remember that you are beautiful, You are loved, you are valid, you are strong, and you are fierce. Don't let anyone or anything ever, 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 ever dim your shine. I love all of you so much. Bye!